Hello and welcome to week 14, still on paper 2. This week we're going to be looking mainly at question 2. So we will kick off like we did last week. So how many nouns can you name in this Victorian scene, this chaos that's happening? So pause the video now and type all the nouns that you can see into your chat. Okay, lovely. So we're going to have a little recap about paper 2. So have a read through of these questions and again pause the video and type your answers into the chat. You'll find all the answers there. Okay, so infer, we talked about making inferences, how we infer something right back at the beginning of term, if you remember that. Let's remind ourselves what it means. So what does inferring mean? What does it mean to infer something? And again, type all your answers into the chat. Pause the video. Welcome back. Hopefully you remembered that to infer means to make a guess about something that's been hinted at. So if I looked at my watch when you came into the room, you might infer that I was saying that you are late. Have a read of these 4 statements. What inferences can you make from these 4 statements? And again, put your answers into the chat for that. You have probably all put slightly different things into the chat, what inferences you made, and that's absolutely fine. We all make different inferences depending on the things that we've experienced in our own lives. So all your answers are going to be slightly different, and that's, as we know in English, a good thing. And doing this, making inferences, is a key skill in question 2. Which we are looking at today. So for question 2, you are asked to find either similarities or differences in the text. More often than not differences, but can be similarities as well. So you're going to find things that are different in both of the texts and compare them. This question is worth 12 marks. So like I said, you're asked to summarise similarities or differences, and you are marked on finding those differences, so finding quotations in the text, making statements that show how they're different, and discussing why they're different in a bit more depth. And that's the inference. And in the same way that analysing is the key part in paper 1, making inferences is the key part for this question in paper 2. What we'd like you to do now is to read these 2 short texts and think about how they are different. So pause the video now and have a read through, and then come back to us and we will discuss the question for this. Okay, so the first thing that you've got to do is to highlight the relevant points in the question. So in this question, it's compare the different ways people socialise. So we're looking at the ways people socialise, and I'm just going to highlight as well how they are different, because we are looking at a difference in this question. So we know what we're looking for. We're looking for the ways that people socialise in those texts. So have a go back to the text, and can you find on here the ways that people are socialising? So pause the video, spend a few minutes. Can you find anything in here, source A and source B, that is about how these people are socialising? So pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you have found some things to highlight, and hopefully one of them that you found was this. So from source A, they are talking about tourists who are swimming in the pools of light thrown by the welcoming doors. And in source B, that the potmen thrust the last brawling drunkards into the street. So those two experiences are quite different, aren't they? So what you want to do is to make a statement about each of those quotations. You really want to just say what those quotations are saying in your own words, and that's showing the examiner that you understand what they mean. So here we've got source B. Our quotation is that they thrust the last brawling drunkards out of the pub, and that's showing that drinkers are aggressive, they're brawling, that means fighting, and they're having to be thrown out of pubs. Source 2, the swimming and pools of light thrown by welcoming doors, shows that those tourists, those people drinking, are having fun and they're feeling welcomed and having a nice, happy time. So that's the first thing you want to do. Find things to compare and then explain what those things mean. And then the last thing is you need to write a statement summarising those differences. So what are those differences showing us? What can we infer from those differences? So pause the video and have a little think now about what are we inferring about those differences? What are they showing us? Why might they be different? So what we can say is that in source B, and it's perfectly fine to use the word source B, source A, rather than typing out the name of the text. So in source B, socialising in London seems to be an unpleasant and violent experience, whereas in source A, the drinkers are enjoying a more peaceful time and relaxing time. They appear to be in an area frequented by tourists, which could account for the more holiday-like atmosphere than the more aggressive drinkers in the 19th century. So here we're comparing those differences. We're saying this one is like this one, and this one's like this one, and why. And then when you've done that, you can write it up into a paragraph. So it's a really good idea to just start off making a little statement summarising the question. It helps to keep you on track and make sure that you're answering the questions. In this case, both texts talk about people socialising at the end of the evening. And then we're going into source B, so drinkers are becoming aggressive. So we're explaining it, putting in the quotation to show and to give evidence for that statement. And then doing the same with source A. It doesn't matter if you start with source B or source A, whichever way. This shows us, and then we are getting into the inference part. So this shows that in source B, socialising in London seems to be a much more unpleasant and violent experience, whereas in source A, the drinkers are enjoying a more peaceful and relaxing time. They seem to be in a tourist area, which could account for the more holiday-like atmosphere than the more aggressive drinkers in the 19th century. So that is one paragraph. And you will need to write 2 paragraphs of that in order to get full marks. So 2 paragraphs like that, that are giving evidence from the text, making statements to explain that evidence, and then comparing the 2. So just said that really. So find 2 things that you can compare. Making sure that you're answering the question, make statements saying why they're different or similar if the question's on the similarities, and then summarise the findings, making inferences about the differences or the similarities. So hoping that makes sense. So what we'd like you to do is to have a look at the question 2 on the text about childhood that we looked at for last week. So question 2 for this text is the way the boys spend their time playing as young children is different. Use details from both sources to write a summary of the different activities the boy in source A enjoys and the boy in source B enjoyed when he was young. Right, what's the first thing that we've got to do? I hear you all shouting at the screen. Highlight the key words in the question. Yes, that's the first thing. As we know, English questions, they like to have a lot of words going on in there, and we want to make sure that we're understanding the most important ones. So really good idea to just highlight the key points. So the way the boys spend their time playing is different. We know we're looking for differences, the different activities the boy in source A enjoys and the boy in source B enjoyed when he was young. So remember, for this question, we're looking at differences. So part of your homework last week was to write a list of the activities that each boy liked to do in both the source. So if you can share those in the chat now. So pause the video and share those ideas in the chat. And then come back to us. So hopefully you found these. We've just got 2 examples here. You could have found more, but we found these 2. So in source A, the little boy liked running up to people and waiting for them to twang his lips. And he also gets tired and starts barking gibberish. And in source B, they do a list of all the toys that he liked playing with, and some of these and some noisy toys that he talks about as well. So we can see here that we could compare these 2 and these 2. These ones are about noise and these ones are about activities that he physically like doing. That's the first thing we've got to do. Then we're going to make a statement saying how they're different. So he likes running up to people. So he likes playing with adults. He's being the centre of attention. You can imagine him running around this living room, running up to the adults and playing with them. Whereas in source B, listing all of those toys, it sounds like he likes playing with toys. Maybe he likes playing on his own, which is something that used to happen in the 19th century. So also this one, he gets tired and barks gibberish. So he's trying to communicate. But he's tired, so he's not coming out properly. Whereas in source B, he likes making sort of these random noises. He's shouting and whistling, and he's got drums and trumpets. So he's making not noises to do with words, but noises just to be noisy. And then it said you have to write a statement about each difference. So the boy seems to love playing with adults, showing he likes to be the centre of attention, whereas the boy in source B, so using keywords, things like whereas, when you're going on to talk about the next one. And then we're making differences about the boy in source A being younger and maybe not able to play independently, but also, like we said, it's a difference between childhood in the 19th century and the present day. That children were maybe expected to be more independent and not bother the adults. Like we said, so this is the part that we're making inferences from. So this is a really sort of key part of this question. So what we'd like you to do is to make another point. So we're going to use these examples here that we've given you. And this is an assignment on Classroom. So you need to pause the video and then go on and complete assignment 1. And it's got spaces for you to fill all this in. Okay, lovely. Hopefully you've done that. And what we're going to do now is to move on and have a practice of this question with a new text. So there's 2 texts on the Classroom about surfing. So we'll just do a quick quiz on question 1. So that's assignment 2 will be a question 1. So find the 4 true statements. Have a go at that. Come back and tell us how you got on. Were there any tricky ones? Is it that which was the one that was difficult to find? There's always one that they seem to kind of trick you out. So come back to the chat, share your score. Hopefully you all did very well on your question 1. Like I said, we're going to keep practicing that over and over again to get up to speed, and we can get good 4 points in the bag. And so now we're going to look at a question 2. So this is assignment 3 on Classroom. So remember, use all of those skills, make good inferences, make statements to show the differences. Just as a reminder, we'll do this now, you're looking for differences in surfboards. Don't forget to highlight those keywords in the question. So you can go now and do assignment 3, and good luck. So just to let you know about your homework for this week. So please, we'd like you to read both the texts on cyclists. Highlight any words you don't understand. Don't forget to use the glossary if there is one. If the word's not in a glossary, have a go at reading around the word to see if you can work out what it means without looking it up. If you still can't work it out, obviously look it up. So your homework, you've got a question 1 quiz on Classroom, and we'd just like you to bring with you next week what's the tap of both of those texts. And yeah, next week we're going to focus on both of those texts. So good idea if you've read them and you've become familiar with them. Okay, great. See you soon.